Real talk. No bull. Real talk. We're putting it all on the table. You know what to do.
Welcome back for another week. What are we now? Episode 6.
Mate.
6. All
Yep.
right.
Kicking goals.
Kicking goals, mate. Yeah. Continuity.
That's it.
Showing up.
Showing up.
Yeah.
Yep. Connection.
That's it, mate. We just have to, we'll just keep the ball rolling.
Yep. That's all we can do.
Yeah, man. Yeah. How's your week been?
It's been pretty full on.
Yep.
With work and expectations, but
Didn't you do the longest walk the other weekend?
yeah, I did. Yeah, I did that with a few people. That was a big challenge.
How'd that go? Yeah, how'd that go?
Well, for someone that has done no exercise, absolutely no exercise whatsoever.
A little bit here and there. But
A touch.
yeah.
But to walk 35 Ks,
Yeah, man.
that was really hard work, especially within the first 5Ks. I felt my hips,
Yeah.
my ribeyes
Yeah.
already going.
Your psoases.
My
Your
psoases. Yep.
Yep.
To get to 35 Ks, like you said, and Maddie and whatnot said that it's actually a pretty big achievement.
Oh, 100%,
Yeah.
mate. 100%.
Yeah. Even though if you're not running marathons, if you're walking
Oh.
35 Ks in 7 hours.
35 Ks is a long way, mate.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
you drive that in your car and you think about where you started and where you end up. And
Actually, I didn't even think of it like that.
you'd be surprised because I'm training for a half marathon and I'm always looking at how long was that drive? And
Yeah.
then it's kind of like, wow, that was like 25 Ks and it's like, wow, I'm going to be almost running that.
I didn't
you
even, to be honest, I didn't even think of it like that. That's pretty much to where I work.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there you go, man.
Yeah, no, it was a good effort. You know, shout out to everyone that did it.
Yeah, well done.
So
What was it for? What was the walk for?
for Mito. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what it was for. And
For people out there who don't know what Mito is,
to be honest, I'm not even going to lie.
you're not
I
sure
did it
either?
because Steve asked me to do it from Dad's community. Shout out, Steve.
Yeah,
Honestly,
fair enough.
I just committed to it.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's for a good cause.
yeah, man, 100%.
And yeah, he asked me to do it, and I didn't think about how long it was going to be, and I just agreed. And
Oh, well done, man. It's a huge achievement.
yeah,
Huge achievement.
yep.
Yeah, cool. So last week we had Rachel on. Rachel, the psychologist.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good episode to get a bit of professional insight to what we offer,
Yeah.
or not even what we offer, but just what we talk about. Yeah, it was like I said, it was good to get her on and just talk about a few different ways of how we perceive men's mental health, how we talk about it, how we should be talking about it, making it a bit more prominent out there,
How we can cope with it. how we
checking in
can
on
deal with
people. Yep. So no, it was a good episode.
it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed having her on. It'd be real nice to get some more guests on like that to shed, more light on different avenues, such as maybe some neuroscience,
Yep.
down those sorts of paths too. Some other types of counsellors, that'd be pretty neat. Yeah.
Yep.
I, for one, have never had any kind of therapy, so it was nice being able to sit with a therapist of some description and kind of hear those sorts of things. Kind of reaffirmed a lot of the things that I do already know or currently do for myself. 100%. There's definitely ways that I can improve, but I probably should have had some therapy over the years for different things that have gone on in my life, but I never have. Maybe because it's a financial thing too. Like, it's not cheap, is it? Like, some of it's not cheap, eh?
Nah. Well, to be fair, no, it's not. But you do get a rebate, so
Okay,
you're not fully out of pocket. So if you can afford it,
Yeah.
Coming from a person that has been seeing someone or counsellors, psychiatrists, psychologists since they were 20.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
how old am I? That's 18 years. I definitely recommend if you can at least get 1 or 2 sessions in, I think you'll find yourself getting a few more.
Like, I've always just turned to the bush, eh? Like, that's
Savage.
that's always been my been my therapy, was just, I kind of always felt like if I needed the answers to something, or I needed to be able to release or just kind of reground myself in a certain way, I'd just go into the bush.
Yep.
And maybe that's because I spent a lot of years in the bush, like working in the bush and doing hobbies in the bush. That's where I felt the most comfortable. I even got tattooed here on my arm. There's my happy place, And so for me, it was kind of like, well, if I'm feeling a certain way, I would go to the bush and I'd get that release, and I'd feel better afterwards. I might not have got that professional insight, Gaia, Mother Nature, she's not going to speak to me in the trees, but it definitely made me feel a lot better, a lot more grounded. But so what kind of therapies have you had over the years? Like, what kind of things have you gone through?
I've been to counsellors, psychologists, psychiatrists, relationships. I've been through a lot of them, man, to be perfectly honest. But the good thing is about seeing those people is, yeah, we can escape to our happy places every now and then in terms of the bush, but reality is that we can't always escape there, and it's good to be able to know that, we can see someone for an hour to reflect and give us the tools that we need.
Yeah.
Well, not that we, I guess that you need.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the only time I've ever done any kind of counselling was, I touched on it. I might have touched on it when we did the episode about my sobriety quest, and I did 10 weeks in alcohol and drug services, and that was kind of the only time that I've ever done any kind of counselling. But yeah, like you say, like that guy Brendan, he taught me some really good tools at the time that, even though I did use them at the time, and even though I relapsed and I went back into my old life patterns sometime after, those tools that he had taught me were always there in the back of my mind. So later on in life, when I needed those tools to help me, have a tolerance break, or even at the time I gave up, those tools were still there. So I guess from a professional point of view, like, I know what you're saying, like escaping to the bush isn't going to give me those tools that I need, right? But going to see somebody who is a professional, they'll give you those tools.
Yep. Yeah. But they also help you understand why you relapse and how you can get around it the next time around. Yes. And just offering that guidance. And, I've relapsed plenty of times, and trying to understand the guilt that you feel and putting all those kind of things into perspective. Like we've said previously, it's a lot of things resonate when we talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's also a role reversal when we talk about it, and then to hear a more professional, I guess, a more professional guided perspective. It definitely, I guess that hits home too, because they're also giving us the proper tools. Yeah. The proper tools that we need to be able to go, okay, I understand why I've gone down that path.
So in terms of like, you've gone through all these different types of therapies. Like, so what are you getting from a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a counsellor that you're not getting from the one previous? Or like, what's a counsellor doing for you that a psychologist can't, or vice versa? Like, what's the difference here? Like, why do you need to see so many different people? Why can't you just get it from one person? Or
fair enough. Well, from the beginning, I'll start off from when I was in my teens. I saw a counsellor just to get some help.
Yep.
And they spoke about with my problems, what I was feeling and whatnot.
What kind of problems were you got, if you don't mind me asking?
I was going through some anger problems, depression problems,
yep,
anxiety, all the problems that I'm still facing now.
Okay.
But the thing is that with the counsellor, they can't diagnose, right? They can listen and hear and go, okay, well, maybe we can refer you on to a psychologist.
Okay.
From that point, I went to a psychologist.
So they're like a stepping stone.
Yeah, pretty much. That's your entry level.
Yeah.
Your entry level.
Yeah, and if they perceive what you're going through as kind of bigger than they can handle.
Yeah, absolutely. They recognise what's within their scope of work.
Yeah.
And then from there, they'll refer you on to the psychologist.
Yeah.
Now, from that point on, with the psychologist, they can... Well, actually, to be honest, I don't want to say this. Or I'll say it. But from just from a psychology point of view, they can to a certain level say this is what they think that they've got. I think the only person that can actually diagnose you is the psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So you can go to a psychologist prior and just explain your symptoms, and they can talk to you and try to work through your problems then, with unofficially saying, oh, this is what you've got. But the psychiatrist is the one that will say, okay, well, you've got depression, you've got anxiety, you've got BDP, you've got bipolar.
Yeah.
And then from that point, then you kind of go, okay, well, I've seen the psychiatrist, they've diagnosed me. They kind of put into, for this is my personal experience, of course.
Yeah. This is all we can speak of, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then from that point on, then I've always gone back to my psychologist and said, well, this is what I've been diagnosed with, this from the psychiatrist.
Okay, so you do like a bit of a bounce back.
Yeah, it's always, to me, it has always felt one step forward, two steps back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with all these years that you've been going through these therapies and seeking this help, do you feel like it's helped you in any way? Like, do you feel like you're further down the track from the start of the problem now? Or,
Man,
or does it just keep evolving into different things for you?
I've been seeing people for 20 years.
Yeah.
And thank fuck I have.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Pardon my French.
No, you're
but
right.
if I didn't, I'd probably be dead or in jail.
Okay.
100%. I was, and I didn't go around hurting or anyone, but I was super aggressive.
Why were you angry?
I don't know.
Don't know,
man.
It's just like
it was just inside. I couldn't. I guess from what's happened previously to being diagnosed with BDP.
What's BDP for anyone who doesn't know?
Or BPD. I always get them borderline personality disorder.
Okay. Yeah.
Haven't been able to regulate my emotions.
Yeah.
So I've gone from being happy to chill to angry, all within seconds.
Yeah.
So that could happen between at any time, man, and that's why I'm saying I could have probably ended up in jail. To be honest, I reckon.
Did you ever go down like any avenues, like join like boxing or kickboxing or anything to like get that release out, like that aggressive release out? Like,
not boxing, but I did, touching on what Rachel was saying on our previous episode about getting your heart rate above a certain beat.
Yeah.
That definitely did help.
Yeah.
And is still helping getting that. I don't know how to describe it, but there's a certain level where your body
well, that starts to kick on all the endorphins.
Yeah.
And everything, right. Like once you get your heart rate up to a certain level.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that though, because when we did the episode on bullying and have you ever been punched in the face, episode 4, you said that you had a run-in with a guy and you just let him punch you in the face.
Yep.
So how come in that moment your aggression didn't come out and you didn't level him? Like,
to be honest, I probably thought that if I had have lashed out, I probably would have ended up in fucking either jail or juvie, because I would have just gone.
Like it become like a blind rage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, for some reason at that moment in time, that's all I could think of is that this is going to end badly for one of us and it wasn't going to be me. And look, I wasn't getting seriously hurt, but...
No porcelain jaw or anything.
Nah. Or maybe these days, yes. But back then, no. No, I've copped plenty of punches in the chin.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel too threatened.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, if I had have, it could have ended... And I'm not trying to sound macho.
No, not at all, man. Not at all.
But, probably could have ended in a totally different scenario. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've never had any kind of therapy, so I guess that's why I'm asking these questions, because there's probably many people out there who have never had any kind of therapy either. So it's good to get this little bit of insight, right, from somebody who has.
For example, like therapy's helped me control my road rage.
Yep. Extremely,
and I've had road rage up until last year, where I chased someone down and I threw stuff out of my car to get there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they sped off, but and afterwards I felt like an absolute dickhead.
Yeah. What brought that on? What happened there?
Well, he was giving. I went into overtake. I was in the middle lane, went to overtake someone in the right, like, go to my right hand lane overtake, and this guy speeds up from nowhere, absolutely nowhere. Speeds up, starts giving me the finger, and I was like,
Because he thought you cut him off.
I don't know what he was
Yeah,
thinking
not
because
sure.
he was 4 or 5 cars behind me.
Yeah.
But he was giving me the finger, and it just set me off thinking that he thought he was tough. So, he undertook me, then went off into the far left hand lane, took the off ramp, and I've just cut across all lanes.
Yeah.
And went after him because I was like, nah, fuck. I was like, stuff you. And I looked into my driver's side of my door, and I had a screwdriver. And I grabbed it and I launched it at him. Absolutely launched it, and I've hit him, or the car, and he's taken off through a red light. But since I've had therapy, I haven't had a session. I haven't had an incident like that.
And so when you talk to your therapist about that particular incident, what was the what did you do after that in order to bring yourself down from that? Like, what was the plan after that to kind of help you fix that part of you?
Techniques, and not worrying about perceived judgment. That was a big thing that's helped me.
Yeah.
Is being judged, and I felt like I was being judged, like I did something wrong, which I know in my mind there's no way I did anything wrong in that moment. But also, grounding techniques, using your 5 senses, counting to 5 and then going, 5 things I can see, 4 things I can touch, all those kind of things. So I use them a lot now when I'm when I say a lot, I mean recently while I'm driving. So
yeah,
the techniques that have been given to me have definitely helped, not only in road rage situations, but like, if I'm angry at you not angry, if I'm unhappy of something that's happening with my personal life or work life, these techniques can all be used in all facets of my life at the moment. So it's definitely helped.
Everything's kind of, all these techniques, right, would be relatable to something else in another way. Yeah. Okay, cool. So where to from here? Like, I mean, are you currently seeing anyone in therapy?
Yep. I still see a psychologist. I see them once a month.
Yep.
I used to see them twice a month, but we've been able to pull the reins in a little bit there.
Yep. And so what do you do on that 1 month visit?
To be honest, it's almost like a running maintenance.
Yep.
We go into
like a checklist.
Yeah, pretty much. How have you been? What's made you mad? But it all comes back down to how I perceive myself. So no matter whether it's got to do with work or family, I've always found that it's always coming back to my own personal issues.
Yeah.
So with seeing my psychologist once a month, it's like it's like a running,
like a timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's about where I'm at the moment. There's not much more I can do outside of that without getting a few more sessions in with a few other clinics and other help like DBT and all that.
Yeah.
So for now, it's just psychology.
Yeah. Do you ever think like what kind of external things do you do to help yourself? Like, what are some of the things that they've suggested that you do on the outside of your therapy to help yourself?
That the 5 senses.
Yep.
That's I was given that tool a while ago.
Yeah.
And I've just never thought to use it. And it got to the point where I took the photos on my phone to remind myself how to do it. So I've been doing that. Distractions are the biggest ones.
Yeah.
They're the ones that help the most for me. And also, even just to the point where it was suggested to download, for example, Tetris.
Yeah.
That's
I love Tetris, man.
Man, well, that's a good one because you got to think
Bring back the old Game Boy, eh?
I can't remember the exact terms used, but for example, with a game like Tetris, it engages the front part of your brain where you have to think about what you're doing now and then the repercussions of what part's dropping in next. So you're using a few different parts of your brain which shuts out. Like I said, I don't know the technical terms, but it shuts out the shit part, the one that hounds you.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what's helping me at the moment.
Yeah. Nice. And you're doing like yoga and meditation and stuff like that. So that stuff's helping.
Yoga is, I do the hot yoga or Bikram yoga at Hot Tribe.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Man, for any man that thinks that is like weak, that is one of the hardest things I've done.
Like getting in there and like popping off and stuff.
Oh yeah, man. Man, just sweating your guts off and trying to shake that manliness off, and that's bloody hard, man. But for that moment in time, all you are focusing on is what the instructor is telling you what to do. So it's kind of like, for me, like, in our first, I think it might have been our first episode where we said that, I use concerts as a distraction. Like, for that moment in time, that's all you're thinking about is music. Yeah. That's the same with the yoga. You just concentrated on that one point, and same with the meditation one. Yeah. Yeah. All you're focusing on is you're stretching and just the instructor's voice, and it's just your escape. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And who, if you were to sort of like give that sort of advice to anybody out there who was needing that, like what kind of person, like just anybody who needed it in general, just
anybody, man,
not anyone specifically. No, there's actually been a couple of people at work where I've suggested it. Yeah,
like, I've noticed that sometimes some of the guys at work seem a bit stressed or got a bit on their plate. Yeah, I've said, make meditation. Even the app that I use, you can choose up to 7 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Yeah. And all it is,
it's like a guided meditation.
It's all it is. It's one breath in, I'm not the body. One breath out, I'm not the mind. Yeah. And that is all you listen to for 7 minutes. There's a bit of music, but if you properly, well, for me, if I properly listen to it, I escape, and it is like I'm out of my mind, and all I'm just in a room, and all I can hear is his voice. Yeah, and I seriously do escape. I've been lazy. Yeah, lately I haven't been doing it, but Jesus, I need to get back into it.
Have you ever done meditation in a float tank?
No, I've heard that is like supposed to be unreal.
Full like sensory deprivation.
Yeah, yeah.
I watched a doco about a guy who did like an 8-hour float, and he had recorded all of his own meditation to himself. So he was recirculating the message back to himself through his own voice, and it was pretty. He obviously worked up to it. Like, he took this journey of this float tank thing and self deprivation chambers and stuff like that. But I always thought that, I've never tried it. When I was in Canada in 2012, 2013, I had a lot of mates going in to the float tanks on their weeks off, just for a bit of relaxation, because we're working hard in the mountains and stuff like that, and they all said it was really good. But I've never done one. I'd like to do one.
Yeah. I'd like to do it as well, but I think of the Simpsons episode where Homer goes to do it and they put the rock on his deprivation, and they send him off away, and he ends up all battered and bruised. Oh. I don't want to end up like that.
I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah. No, it's that's cool, man. And like I guess like I've never had any kind of therapy, and I guess the real point in time where I probably felt like I needed it the most, it wasn't even really a spoken of thing to get it, and it wasn't until 10 years later, after that kind of moment in time, that's when my first mate at 17 took his life. And I was like heavily depressed, and that's why I got into all the drugs and all the hardcore partying that I did, because I was just dealing with all these bottled up emotions, numbing it, and even though I was having a good time and I felt happy, I wasn't really that happy deep down, because I had just lost my mate and I didn't know how to process that and deal with it. And so, that's probably the only time that I've probably ever felt like I've needed therapy. And then I guess a lot of the other times where I might have, like, I've always just sought the information myself, you know, like we're so lucky to have the internet in our pockets now. And so it's kind of like, I don't need to go around to my mate's house who's got the Encarta encyclopedia and, you know, look
Volume
up all,
12.
yeah, look up all this sort of stuff and whatnot. So yeah, like I've been told, like, by some professionals before, like, everything that you say that you do is what I would tell somebody to do. And so for me, it's kind of like, okay, well, with whatever I'm doing for myself, I guess I'm on the right path. But I guess there's no harm in probably seeking some kind of therapy at some point in time, right? I mean, I hear a lot of people talking about, like, oh, I go therapy, I do this.
Yeah, but
it's like,
with hearing from a specialist, you understand the whys.
yeah,
Why you're thinking the way you do, why you feel, and that's, for me, that's important. You know, actually understanding
yeah.
why you're feeling like that. And
Do you second guess yourself a lot?
yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
Yep.
yep. That's why it's good to have that reassurance.
yeah. See, I don't feel like I do. I'm very sure of myself, and that's not coming from a place of being like big headed or anything.
No, it's
but,
good to feel confident in
yeah,
yourself.
but I over the years I've gained these levels of confidence through things that I've done and I guess the right decisions that I've made for myself. And so it's kind of like, okay, well, that worked. It's kind of like, okay, well, I'll keep that there because that worked. And if something doesn't work for me, it's like, okay, well, that's not working for me, so I won't do that again. And so I'm constantly keeping all of these things in my life that have worked for me. And so, yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I guess like I'm constantly reassuring myself that, yeah, okay, that's a good decision. And when I make a decision, I guess I just own it.
Yep.
And if it's not right, then, you know, we learn from it. I take that mistake and I learn from it. I don't wallow in the failure of the mistake. Like I don't believe in failure. I believe that if you are trying to do something and you don't succeed, then it's not failing. It's just that it didn't work that time. Let's try something different and we'll try it again, because eventually you're going to do something that works, right? But yeah, I guess not everybody's like that.
The thing is, though, I found is that those techniques and stuff that I dismissed when I was younger,
Yeah,
that now that they've been brought up as I'm more mature, or I've learnt through life,
yeah,
those things that I dismissed are now helping.
yeah,
I used to say, don't give me that shit about, you know, sensors and leaves blowing through my, you know, picture of a leaf going through your mind, you know. But some of those techniques now are helping.
You know what? It's really funny that you bring that up, because back when I used to mountain bike and I used to do like the big stuff, a way that I would calm myself down before doing something, before I drop in to do that said thing, I would try and find a leaf that fell from a tree and I'd watch that leaf and I'd watch it float all the way down, and I'd keep my eyes locked on it until it hit the ground. And then when it hit the ground, I knew that I was ready to go, because what it did for me was it cleared my mind. It cleared my mind of all of the noise of thinking about what I was about to do. And it made me focus on something that was really calming. And then it was like, okay, now I go. And that was something that I just did over the years. And I even taught other riders to do that too. It's like, just find something falling from a tree and just watch it.
No,
and
man,
just
I was
focus
more
on it.
like, don't tell me what to think of, man. It used to do my head in.
Yeah.
It used to make me mad.
Yeah.
Even when the person at the time was trying to describe it to me, I was sitting there going, shut up,
Yeah.
shut up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Eventually it started to sink in though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess what you're saying is get therapy if you feel like you need it.
Yeah. And just because it didn't work 10 years ago doesn't mean it's not going to work now,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
And
that's right.
that's one of the biggest things I found as well.
That's right. And do you feel like, I guess, like moving forward into the future, like because you're gaining all of these tools, like one day you won't need to see a therapist, or do you think it's something that you'll always continue to do just because it's a comfort thing, or it's just something that's now a part of your life, like because you've been doing it for 20 years?
I never thought of it like that. I don't look at, yeah, okay.
Like, do you think one day you'll kind of reach some kind of enlightenment, and you'll kind of be like, okay, I feel like I'm good now.
Me personally, no.
No.
No, I think I'll need to speak to someone that's just not involved in my life
Yeah.
for the rest of my life.
And sometimes it's about having that external factor.
There's
right?
no judgment, and that's just what they're here to listen to your thoughts, your
Yeah, man.
problems, and help you to decipher it. And
Yeah.
I don't think if I had that in my life from right now, I'd struggle a lot more.
Yeah, it's like yesterday even, right? I was at work and I was working on this place down the back of these units, and I could hear this lady screaming at the top of her lungs, like really loud, like, and I thought, bloody hell, what's going on here? Like, and I thought something was like, going, I thought there's a big fight or something out on the street. So I kind of walked out of this complex and I went out to the street, but it was just this lady sitting on this park bench outside the shop by herself, and she was just screaming at, I'm not really sure who she was screaming at. And I kind of just sat in the yard for a minute and I listened to her and what she was saying, and I kind of was thinking to myself, do I say something? Do I get up? Or I've talked about the bystander effect before, and I'm not one to just stand by, right? So I kind of got up and I walked over to the boundary of the property I was in, and I just said, "Excuse me, are you okay?" And she kind of like looked at me, and she was a bit wide-eyed and looking a bit crazy, and she says, "No, I'm not okay." And I said, "Can I come and talk to you?" And she says, "What for?" And I just thought, well, because maybe you need somebody to talk to. And she kind of was taken back, because obviously everybody else around at the time was not wanting to be around her because she's screaming like a crazy person, right? But I went out there, and she was sitting on this park bench, and I sat on the ground, so I was lower than her. I wasn't standing over her. I wasn't intimidating. But I just asked her, I said, "Hey, what's going on today?" And she told me what was going on, and I wasn't really sure if she was talking about somebody fictitious or whether or not it was an actual person, but it kind of didn't matter. But we kind of moved on from that, and I asked her about her kids, and we just kind of had this conversation, and I think, it just made her feel normal for a minute, that somebody actually just talked to her like a normal person, and she was then able to just sort of move on with her day. And I just kind of thought, well, that was pretty weird, but it kind of also goes along with my ethos of talking to a stranger every day. So that's kind of just something that I do, is just talk to a stranger. So I was like, well, here's my stranger. This is a situation.
Two birds stoned at once.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'm not going to judge you. Everyone goes through something, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I had a thought about what you were just discussing before about whether I'd keep going seeing someone. Is that well, your body's the vessel, yeah? It's a car.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to have to keep seeing the mechanic to get it tuned.
Yeah.
That's the same way that it's probably the same way that I'm looking at psychology or psychiatrist or any kind of therapy. You're still taking care of your mind, and that's a little nod to Matty because of what he said to me before. Kind of makes sense, man.
We've got an audience
Oh,
tonight.
yeah, we've got an audience tonight.
Yeah, Matty,
Big
Matty and Dean.
Matty Chev.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, future guest.
Yeah, future guest. But no, seriously, that's you said that to me before, and it's so true. We got to keep that maintenance happening on our brain, otherwise we're gonna. It's just so important to keep on top of that.
100%. Like when I was younger, I didn't really look after myself very well. I'm broken, mate. I'm broken and battered. And as I'm getting older, I'm looking after myself a bit more. Maybe a little bit too, might be too late now, but I'm definitely
better late than never, mate.
That's right, man. That's right. That's what I was looking for up there. But yeah, man, that's interesting. So I think I guess off the back of last week's episode with Rach, I guess if anybody's out there that's struggling, talk to your friends, talk to a GP, get some therapy if you feel like you really need it, right?
And the biggest thing that I've found through, whether it's through work or your friends, is that once you start talking to someone, you'll be surprised on how much that they're happy to listen to your problems.
Totally, man.
And guide you, and all that has helped. I've had guys at work that have just sat there and have just copped an absolute ear bashing.
And that's something you hear a lot, is and people will say, "Oh, but no one wants to listen to my problems." It's like, dude, there's 100 people out there.
They'd rather listen to your problems than your eulogy.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
100%.
So that's my big thing, mate. Just bloody talk.
Yeah.
And that's, you know what? From all the episodes that we've done and all the guests, the two that we've had so far, it's all been the same thing.
Yeah.
It's all communication, reach out, talk,
Yeah.
connect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know.
Yeah.
and-
We're humans. We need that.
yeah.
Yeah. Don't isolate.
No.
Connect
No.
that.
And I've done the isolation,
Mm.
and I still do it to this, and I still do it in certain parts of my life. But
Yeah.
you eventually come around and realize that it is not the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely reach out if you need help. Don't be ashamed in asking for any kind of help, whether it's big, small, whatever. Just do it.
Nice, man.
That's Braden's thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could probably wrap it up there because
That's it, mate.
That's it, man.
Nah, happy days. Oh, we're gonna
We'll go handshake, brother.
shake that one.
Yeah.
Nah,
No,
well,
awesome.
thanks
bro.
for that, mate.
No,
Appreciate
That
it.
was a good chat, man.
Yeah,
I
it's
enjoyed
just-
that.
Chew the fat.
Yeah. Well, I learned a little bit more about you.
Yeah. Well, there
So,
we go.
That's good. That's
We'll
good.
learn more as the episodes come on.
That's it, bro.
No,
That's
no
it.
worries.
All right, man. Peace out.
We're definitely getting better.